it's very interesting to me because there's this whole belief that Tartaria is some sort of either Russian psyop or a CIA psyop to confuse us. What is your thoughts on hidden history, hidden empires, and all that stuff?
Wow, that's a big question. But to be quick with that, and Tartaria is the old world in a whole. Basically, for me, that represents a period prior to, I'd say, the mid 1700s, late 1700s, and it encompassed the entire globe. Tartaria wasn't just Siberia, Russia. It was a term designated by Rome as people outside their sort of jurisdiction, realms unknown. And yeah, as far as architecture and the advanced old world and all of those things, it's definitely something that's far more widespread than just that region that people are familiar with. Yeah, I co-hosted a radio show called Radio Tartary like over 5 years ago now, when this stuff was like kind of pretty much unknown. And after spending, hundreds, if not thousands of hours digging through maps and archives and images, I've come to the conclusion that we're dealing with a post reconstruction of Rome and a rewritten history. And when Rome fell, which a lot of people are familiar with this idea that Rome really just rebranded itself as a religion. And basically it took this old world symbolism, technology, everything, and over a longer period of time basically wiped out all understanding of this and kind of took those things and created what we would call modern day Catholicism. Again, loosely answered there, but yeah. The 1800s, basically America as we know it was repopulated. And I think this has kind of been the running play from Rome as we know it today. And I think it's taken place over all of the continents of the Rome as we know it over several hundred years. But I explore the 1800s and 1700s predominantly, and my main way of exploring that and expressing it to people is through American newspapers.
I love that. So do you buy into the theory that possibly like America and parts of Mexico were actually Egypt?
Certainly. I mean, they probably wouldn't have designated themselves as Egypt, but yes, absolutely. I've used that phrase in many of my episodes, predominantly Southern California, Northern Mexico, Arizona. Yeah. Again, for somebody like yourself who probably hasn't seen any of my material, I start off my Anomalous America series in Alaska, and, from frozen cities to Greek temples found in the side of mountains that wash away in an earthquake, and a whole Greek city is exposed.
Wow.
To 1,200-foot long petrified ships, to giant hairy reptiles that are being hunted by dukes from England. That's just one episode, and then you can go through. I've done 20 episodes now, and my last one was on Iowa. And yeah, every state is packed with, my sweet spot is giants, buried cities, ancient civilizations, stuff like that. And I think just about every state I've covered mummies, giants, and petrified, what I call titans. Well, again, I could say the entire realm is a buried empire. But again,
The realm.
narrowing the lens down to just kind of what my YouTube channel has covered. All of the American states have evidence of buried empires, and I don't mean pueblos, Native Americans, Indians. I mean civilization on top of civilization. In my New Mexico episode, I cover material going down 3 levels of civilization where they find giant redheads, pygmies, mummies, you name it.
So, is there something in California where we can maybe drive through? Living in LA, you say there's a couple, any empires in California? Anything crazy we can go?
Well, yeah, my California episode was one of my favorites, and I really only covered probably 10% of the material that I've been sharing over the last decade. But yeah, San Diego, just outside San Diego. I mean, you're not going to find any of this stuff. It's quarried. A lot of modern day quarries that are still owned and operated today were developed in regions where they were dismantling or breaking apart these structures.
Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. That's why I think most of these wars are about.
The mining industry of today is predominantly not just megafauna and trees, but large living creatures. As crazy as that is to hear. Again, going back to the petrified stuff that I touched on just a little, it's one of my favorite subjects. But when they find some of these carcasses or bodies of not just giant reptiles, but giant mammals and giant humans, sometimes I get lucky and I find ones where the petrifaction has crystallized, are turned into gold or copper or silver or radium, which is another sweet spot for my material, the radium material.